I know exactly where this verse is revealed, but as Muslims, we do not celebrate but what the Prophet ﷺ told us to celebrate. And we will not make the day of its revelation a day of celebration. Now, the last part of the hadith is a very interesting part of the hadith, and there could be a lot of discussion on what is celebration, what isn't permitted to celebrate, but that's not my point of discussion for today. What I would like to talk about is the theme of the ayah, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that this religion is complete for you. If you're looking for guidance, you will find a complete form of guidance in Al-Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't only bless him with good khalq, but he also blessed him with good khulq. The scholars, they say that the human being is composed of two components. The first is the khalq, the second being the khulq. The khalq is the outer shell of the human being. That part of the human being that is tangible, that you can touch. The face, the hands, the legs, the back, the front. This is all considered as a part of the khalq of the human being. And then comes the inner dimensions of the human being, which actually cannot be seen with the eye. However, their reality can be experienced through interaction. So for example, a person's generosity. For example, an individual's anger. This is the characteristic of the human being, the characteristics of the human being. Now, some scholars like to refer to the latter, the khulq, as al-amr, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them in this with these very same words in the Quran, where Allah says, "Ala lahul khalq wal amr." That to Allah belongs the khalq, the outer shell of the human being, and to Allah also belongs the amr, that part of the human being which is through the command of Allah, but your naked eyes cannot see. So when we study the life of the Prophet ﷺ, there is no doubt at all that the Prophet ﷺ teaches us good character. And this is something our khatibs talk about regularly, our parents talk about regularly, we've read books regularly, how the Prophet ﷺ was a sincere person, how the Prophet ﷺ he was a generous person, how the Prophet ﷺ did not express his anger unless it was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are things that we hear very commonly. But the one thing we commonly pass up on at the same time is the outer shell of the human being, the khalq of the human being. The khalq of the Prophet ﷺ. What were the features of the Prophet ﷺ? Now someone can object and say, why are the physical features of the Prophet ﷺ even relevant? Why does that matter to me? Well, it is important. The reason why it's important is because from every aspect of the Prophet's life, there is a lesson for the one who wishes to reflect. And this is the very same reason why the scholars always gathered the narrations even regarding the physical features of the Prophet ﷺ. They were compiled together and stored in books of hadith known as the Shama'il, those narrations that relate to the personal life of the Prophet ﷺ. And this isn't something new. This actually exists from the early traditions, right from before the time of Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullahi alayhi is known as being one of the scholars who wrote one of the most comprehensive books gathering the features of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ's diet is actually important to us. One friend of mine, he came to me not too long ago. I was in Dallas a few weeks back, and after the Khutbah, he came. He was a cardiologist, and he said that I live in Florida, and I've always wanted to learn about the Prophet ﷺ's diet and his medicine. And every time I pick up a book about the medicine of the Prophet ﷺ, it's from a generation of study that's very different from today's study. And I would like to find someone, pick up those books, and pick up those narrations and translate them into modern medicine. And these are sciences, these are fields of study that actually require a lot of work. And there's only so much the Imam can do. This is where the community, with their skill set, needs to come in and say, this is my expertise. Let's sit together and study with the Imams and figure out how we can relate the modern day medicine all the way back to the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. Because the truth is, the Prophet ﷺ's guidance is not restricted to a time, a place, or a specific group of people. So when we study the diet of the Prophet ﷺ, when we study the physique of the Prophet ﷺ, what you note is that the Prophet ﷺ was a very healthy person. The companions describe the physique of the Prophet ﷺ by saying, his shoulders were very wide and his chest was lifted, which is a sign of being very manly. The companions describe his physique as sawa as-sadri wal-batn. His chest and stomach were in line, meaning he didn't have a stomach that bulged out. And by the way, the companions are narrating his physical features post-migration. So this is Muhammad ﷺ after the age of 53, not 23. This is the Prophet ﷺ after the age of 53, still maintaining good health, eating proper, eating in the proper portions, eating halal and tayyib. These are all things that are actually at the core of our religion. This is right at the core of our being. The Prophet ﷺ, he told the companions, the worst vessel in your body you can fill is your stomach. And if you must eat, then the Prophet ﷺ said, a few morsels to keep your spine straight. And if you must eat, then 1/3 for food, 1/3 for water, 1/3 for drink, and then 1/3 for air. The last part is the part we usually quote. But people tend to skip the first two parts. The first two parts of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, the worst vessel for you to fill is your stomach. That's where the hadith starts, teaching us that starvation is actually a good state for spiritual growth, as we learn from the lessons of fasting. Then after that, the Prophet ﷺ says, if you must eat, and every human being must eat, there's no doubt about it at all, otherwise we die. When you do need to eat, only eat a few morsels to keep your spine straight. A person asked the Prophet ﷺ regarding the secret behind his good health. The Prophet ﷺ responded back by saying, "لا نأكل حتى نجوع فإذا أكلنا فلا نشبع." We don't eat until we're hungry. That's the key to success. And when we do eat, we don't eat until we're full. So we eat, it's managed. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that for 2 months at a time, the stove wouldn't turn on in the house of the Prophet ﷺ. Now a person can argue and say that was because the Prophet ﷺ was poor, but that's not a fair argument. The reason why that's not a fair argument is because the poverty the Prophet ﷺ had, he adopted it, it wasn't imposed on him. The wealth would come to the Prophet ﷺ, but his character was that he wouldn't hoard it or keep it for himself or put it into a savings account. The habit of the Prophet ﷺ was that when wealth came to him, he immediately distributed it amongst people. The very famous narration, the Sahaba say, the Prophet ﷺ led us in Asr Salah. After Asr Salah was over, it was the habit of the Prophet ﷺ after each prayer to remain seated in the prayer area and to engage in some tasbihat, some dhikr, subhanAllah, alhamdulillah. He would engage in some form of a litany. Now, the companions say this particular day after Asr Salah, before the Prophet engaged in his dua, he got up and rushed out of the masjid. That wasn't the normal habit of the Prophet, so we realized something was wrong, but we didn't say anything. Now, what was more confusing was, maybe a few minutes later, the Prophet came back right to the front, sat down, and continued on with his dua. So we wondered, someone asked the Messenger of Allah, when you left, maybe we thought that you had some need, but when you came back, it shows us that you went for one particular thing. What was that one particular thing you went for? The Prophet ﷺ said, before Salah, a person came and gave me some gold, and I didn't want to die with that in my possession, so I went and gave that in sadaqah. This shows the Prophet ﷺ, he chose the lifestyle that he had. And for a person to say that this was imposed on the Prophet ﷺ, he had no other choice, this isn't actually true. So the Prophet ﷺ, days passed by. Aisha radiallahu anha herself says, that after we arrived in Medina Munawwara, and the reason why she makes this part of the statement is because she joined the Prophet ﷺ by living in his house as a family member post-migration. Before migration, she didn't live with the Prophet ﷺ, even though her nikah was done. And it's a common practice in our community too. The nikah will be done, the marriage will be done, but the girl will come to live with the boy maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later, whatever the family thinks is suitable. So this was the situation with Aisha radiallahu anha. She married the Prophet ﷺ, but she came to live with the Prophet ﷺ 2 years later, and this is post-migration. Now she comes to the Prophet ﷺ, she's living with him, and she says, during the 10 years while I was in the house of the Prophet ﷺ, there was never a day where we had 2 meals where we ate till we were full. This is the Prophet ﷺ teaching us how to control our appetite. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, if you must eat beyond that, then give 1/3 for your food, and then give 1/3 for your drink, and then give 1/3 for your air. But if we get into the cycle of eating over the top and always filling ourselves up, then what ends up happening is this has a big spiritual impact on the person. Umar radiallahu anhu during his khilafah, he saw a man with a huge stomach. He said to this man, "Ma hada ya rajul?" What is this, old man? He pointed at his stomach and he said, "Hada rahmatullah." This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he said to this person, "But hada adabullah." This is the punishment of Allah. This is not the mercy of Allah. And obviously we're talking about a person who does not have a medical condition. If you have a medical condition, then this discussion really doesn't apply. But we're talking about those who impose this onto themselves, who induce this onto themselves. And this person got offended, by the way. When Umar radiallahu anhu said that this is the punishment of Allah, he got really offended. And Umar radiallahu anhu then had to explain. He explained to this person by saying that when you eat so much, your number one concern in life becomes food. You become obsessed with food. And that's the nature of food, that when you run after it, you become obsessed with it. When you wake up in the morning, rather than asking your spouse, how are you doing, or saying good morning to them, you ask, what's for breakfast? When you call in the afternoon, rather than asking how you're doing, you're saying, what's for lunch? When you come back at home in the evening, rather than asking, how are the kids, how are you doing, what's for dinner? You know, the whole day is just an obsession of food and food and food, and you want more. And this is it's a very interesting appetite. It's one that can never be fulfilled. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us of this in the Quran. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. That eat and drink, but don't be excessive, because when a person becomes excessive with eating and drinking, first of all, that's very easy to do. And when you do become excessive with eating and drinking, it literally hijacks your life. And you can ask the young men and women of our community, and even the adults, why should we lie? What won't we do for food? You know, I know people who've traveled from one state to another state. Just as the Sahaba used to travel from one hadith, they've traveled from one state from another state just for one plate of food. You know, to have some wings, to have some pizza. It's an obsession within us. The second thing Umar radiallahu anhu says to this person is that when you eat a lot, what happens is you become lazy. You become lazy, your body, it holds you down. And then you don't have the energy to go and worship Allah, you'd rather sleep. Kind of like, you know, we all just came out of Ramadan right now, so we can easily connect with this. In Ramadan, when it's iftar time, if you have a light iftar, it's so much more easier to attend Taraweeh prayer, and to attend the Qiyam al-Layl, and to read your Quran, and to engage in your ibadah. But if you take seconds, right? If you take seconds, and if you take thirds, and you take that extra rice on the plate, then what ends up happening is after you finish off your meal, you start making excuses whether Taraweeh is Fard or Sunnah. And then you start arguing with yourself, well, they're doing, no, it's Sunnah. I don't have to pray in the masjid behind the Imam. I can pray it at home anyway. There is proof the Prophet did pray it at home once, right? So I can go, so now what happens is you start coming up with these silly arguments to justify something that we call laziness. And this is something the Prophet, he asked Allah to protect him from every morning. Every morning the Prophet ﷺ made dua to Allah. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kasli. Oh Allah, save me from being a lazy person. So this is the effect that it has on the body. And Umar radiallahu anhu continues on and on with talking about, explaining to this person why eating healthy, eating the right portion is very important. And this is a struggle that you and I face day to day. This is a very real struggle. And this is actually something that has a spiritual impact on us. Allah says in the Quran that fasting, the reduction of food and drink, actually results in taqwa. It's the battle with the soul. There are certain things the soul desires, and there are certain things you need to learn to cut back from. And this is a discussion that's very commonly ignored in the Muslim community. People like to brush it underneath the rug and not talk about it. You know, I know friends who said to me that they've never heard one Jummah khutbah their entire lives where someone got up and encouraged them to eat healthy. And this is actually something that you learn just very clearly by studying the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And as a result of eating disgusting food and unhealthy food and eating unhealthy portions, what ends up happening is that, you know, we have men and women in our community who can't even run a mile, who can't play sports properly, you know, who can't even take care of their day-to-day needs because they're physically not able to do so. And this isn't a good example. So the first thing is eating right portions, controlling how much you eat. The Prophet ﷺ, when eating, rather than eating with 5 fingers, he would eat with 3 fingers. And that was his idea of cutting down his portions. You know, in our day and age, if you notice, at least I can attest to this. When I was younger, in the 90s, the forks used to be much shorter. The plates used to be smaller. The cups used to be smaller. It seems like in the last 2 decades, forks have gotten so much longer. Plates have grown in radius, you know. Bowls have gone much more deeper. Cups have gone taller. I recall once going to my teacher and asking him, Sheikh, there's one hadith I don't understand. He said, which one? I said, the hadith where the companions say the Prophet ﷺ finished off his beverage, his water, in 3 sips. The reason why I don't understand that is because this hadith is telling us not to gulp. Therefore, drinking in 3 sips will break the gulping. But when I drink, I can't finish off my cup in 3 sips because after 3 sips, there's so much of the liquid still left in the cup. So my teacher said to me, this hadith teaches you 2 things. The first thing it teaches you is how the Prophet ﷺ did not like gulping and drinking in one large gulp, taking sips. That's the first thing, which is the thing. The second thing you learn from this hadith is the size of the Prophet's cup. You guys understand that? You learn the size of his cup. How is that? Because he very comfortably finished off his entire beverage in 3 sips. It was a smaller cup. And the reason why we don't understand this hadith is because our cup sizes have increased. And a very practical step is to go back home, open up your cabinet, and reevaluate the size of the utensils lying in our kitchens. whether these are healthy for us or not. The Prophet ﷺ, addressing the men and women of the community, said to them, "Ta'amul ithnain yakfi thalath." That if you're cooking for 3 people, just cook for 2. Don't cook for 3 people. If you're cooking for 4 people, cook for 3. Don't cook for 4. The Prophet ﷺ holds the shoulder of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radiallahu anhu, and he says, "Ya Aba Dharr, إِذَا طَبَخْتَ مَرَقَةً فَأَكْثِرْ مَاءَهَا وَتَعَاهَدْ جِيرَانَكَ." That when you cook your sauce at home, you know the broth you have that you eat your bread with, when you cook your broth at home, add an extra cup of water. So Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radiallahu anhu says, "O Messenger of Allah, why should I add extra water to my broth? It's going to water down the soup." The Prophet ﷺ says, وَتَعَاهَدْ جِيرَانَكَ, because if you add extra water, you can also provide for your neighbor too. And this is something that's lost, by the way. This is a discussion that if we open up, it's never going to end. You know, how do we become so selfish with ourselves that our neighbors can easily be on the side of us and we don't even know who they are? We refer to them as the Arab, the Indian, the Pakistani, the Chinese dude, the African American dude, the tall dude, the short dude, the big dude, the skinny dude. We don't even know their names anymore. And if you know their names, you only know maybe one person's name from the family. But, you know, we're so close yet we're so distant. There was a time when people were done eating with their food. Whatever leftovers they had, they would very carefully, very respectfully present it to their neighbors. It was a common practice. They would present it to their family members. They would present it to the animals of the community. But today our situation has become such, you know, that idea I was talking about, the greed of food. What ends up happening is that you become so greedy that you're not even happy to share your food once you're done eating your food. Now what happens is we want to make sure that we don't waste this food and it doesn't go to anyone else. So where does this food go? It goes into the fridge. It enters into the freezer. And once it's gone in the freezer, Allah knows when it's going to come out, right? So there's this idea of greed the Prophet ﷺ is warning us of. You know, eat. There's nothing wrong with that. Eat in the right portions. That's one thing. The second thing I want to talk about in today's khutbah is when you do eat, once you do figure out what your 1/3 is, and you figured out how to minimize your food, and you've drank your cup of water before actually starting to eat to make sure that you've actually had water too during your meal, once you figured out your portions and how frequently to eat, the second very important thing is to make sure what you're eating is halal and tayyib. Halal is the legal boundary, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits to eat. And within the legal boundaries, there are certain things that are debated amongst the scholars. Now, what's debated, we'll leave that for the scholars and for them to explain to us at another time, not during the Jummah khutbah. However, what is clear haram, what is known by all that this is haram, you stay away from it. You know, for example, all Muslim scholars agree that eating pig and swine is haram. So that's something you steer away from. All Muslim scholars agree that consuming alcohol is haram. Now, no matter how much your heart wants you to consume that, you have to put your foot down and say, no is no. The command of Allah has come, and it's time for me to humble myself and submit myself to the will of Allah. Rather than drinking alcohol, I can have orange juice, I can have Coke, I can have, not a good idea, we're talking about healthy food, so no Coke. But whatever it is that you're going to have, there are 100 other drinks that you can have that are healthy and wholesome. Why is it that the heart is inclined for the drink that doesn't smell good, that doesn't taste good, it has a bad effect on the body, bad effect on the mental state of the human being? You know, there are so many faults to it. But it's as if Shaitan has taken an oath, not if, as if he has. Shaitan has taken an oath that what he will do is he will take impure things and beautify them. Allah says in the Quran that Shaitan said, that I will beautify their deeds for them. And things that are impure, inappropriate, wrong to do, they will all of a sudden seem very attractive. So what's haram, stay away from it. But the ayah of the Quran doesn't end only at encouraging us to eat halal. It actually also extends on to instruct us to eat what's tayyib and wholesome. You know, and this is another discussion that many people are afraid to have in the Muslim community. Eating that which is wholesome, eating that which is pure, knowing where our food actually comes from. The food we eat has obviously a physical impact on us, but it also has a spiritual impact. You look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, you look at the lives of the companions, very wholesome diets, very wholesome meals they had. And that was just the trend at that time. Their industry wasn't polluted with, you know, the products, the byproducts, the preservatives that we have in our food today. Today you pick up a pack of anything and there's 20 ingredients on the back of it. The simple rule in life is, if you can't read it, don't eat it. Don't put something in your body that's going to harm you today, harm you tomorrow. One of the most dangerous ingredients that we as Americans consume in the West is high fructose corn syrup. And it's such a dangerous ingredient, the effects it has on the human being, they're insane. It's the third ingredient on your ketchup bottle. You know, this is the third ingredient or the second ingredient on most of the products that you probably have lying in your drawers. And you know what kind of impact that has on the body? There are studies that show that high fructose corn syrup can have mental effects on the human being. There are studies that show that high fructose corn syrup actually causes impotency within males. So this is such a dangerous product and we're eating it away. Nowadays you can actually go to Walmart and buy ketchup that actually says non-high fructose corn syrup. So being aware of what you're eating. You know, in America, there's an ingredient we consume. It's actually a very common ingredient you put in products that actually has pink coloring. Many of your juices, your candies that have a reddish pink coloring, they actually, where they derive that coloring from, and this is a very common product. The name of it is slipping my mind right now. This product right here is actually derived from beetles. They take the color from beetles and they put this into food. And America is one of the few countries in the world that actually has it legal to have insects into food. And it's there are papers written on this. One of the most disgusting ingredients as Americans we consume is this very same ingredient. And there's no school of thought in Islam that permits eating beetles, eating insects. So we need to be more aware of what we're eating, bringing wholesome meals back to our plates, encouraging our kids to stay away from the fries and the sodas and the burgers and all that unhealthy stuff, and bring them back to food cooked at home, eaten with the family at home, that creates barakah and also creates love. And the last part of my discussion, very quickly so I can go through, is for the adults of the family, those who are providing the wealth, where the food comes from, making sure the wealth you are feeding your family with is halal. This is very, very, very important. The Prophet ﷺ tells us in many narrations that if the food and the clothing that you wear and you consume are not halal, they will have a big impact on you. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La yadkhulu al-jannata jasadun ghudiya bil-haram." That body will not enter into paradise which was nourished off impermissible things. So when you're working out there, you need to ask yourself, what I'm doing, is it permissible or not? The way I'm providing my family, is that ethical or not? I remember asking my teacher one day, Sheikh, why is it that we don't have Imam Abu Hanifa in the 21st century? Where are the Imam Malik's law? Where are the Imam Shafi'i's law? Where are the Imam Bukhari's law? And I'm sure many of us have this question in our mind, especially those of us who are parents. And I asked my Sheikh this question, where are those big Imams from? So he said, you want Imam Bukhari? I'll give it to you tomorrow. But first give me the mother and father of Bukhari. Give me the diet of Bukhari. Give me that halal income that Imam Bukhari's mother earned with her own hand to make sure every hadith her son studied was through pure halal wealth. Bring me that father, bring me that mother, tomorrow I'll give you Bukhari. You know, we become careless when it comes to what we consume. We become careless of the houses that we build and the roofs we live under and the quilts we cover ourselves with and the food we nourish our body with. So these are things that are very important that we are considerate of. In summary, I started off by talking about the importance of being cognizant and aware of the portions of food you eat. The second thing we talked about was being careful of making sure that you eat tayyib, that which is pure and that which is halal. And the last thing, when you're bringing food into your family, bringing any wealth into your family, make sure it's pure and clean too. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad. الحمد لله رب العالمين إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأسبقهم حياء عثمان وقضاهم علي رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما يا رب العالمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل زمان ومكان يا رب العالمين اللهم احفظ بلاد المسلمين واحفظ الحرمين الشريفين والمسجد الأقصى يا رب العالمين اللهم ول أمورنا خيارنا ولا تول أمورنا شرارنا اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا رب الحمد لله.
الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على